From having a 72-inch reach that helps him attack from all angles to not letting his opponents think ahead with his strategic footwork, these are the real reasons why fighters fear Alex Volkanovski. I've got to start off with Alex's crazy reach. On the UFC's website, they've listed Volk with a 71-inch reach, which is pretty impressive already, right? But here's the kicker. You've also got Islam Makhachev, a badass fighter, listed only with a 70-inch reach. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Alex has an extra reach inch advantage. Who cares? But keep in mind he's way shorter than Islam. I'm talking 5'6" versus 5'10". And it's a complete game changer for him because of his height combined with his reach. Volk can launch strikes from angles that most fighters can only dream of. Like Frankie Edgar or Chad Mendes, who try to hit their opponents from those tricky angles and it almost never works, because their punches lose their power once they can't reach their target. But Volk stays just out of range, teasing his opponents, and then bam! He lands those deadly shots, and it's a nightmare for his opponents, because they constantly have to recalculate their defenses. If they're lucky, they'll see Volk's strikes coming, but they can't really reach him to counterattack in a way that does any damage. The fighters think they've got it, but nope, Alex slips away every time, and that messes with his opponents' heads. They can't rely on their usual strategies because he's playing by a different set of rules, and it was clear what went down in that fight he had against Chad Mendes at UFC 232. Right from the get-go, it was pretty obvious that Volkanovski came prepared with a game plan, and his stiff jabs became his secret weapon, constantly keeping Mendes at bay, all the while Alex focused on wearing him out by landing blows that didn't do much damage because Mendes was too busy headhunting and hitting Volkanovski's gloves, forearms, and shoulders. Can you imagine the mind games Alex was playing? He made Mendes waste energy reacting to punches that never even landed, and in the second round, Mendes had a slight advantage when he landed a massive right hand directly through Volk's guard. Volk stumbled back and his defense started to crumble, and Chad saw it as his chance and threw a powerful left hook, which dropped Alex to the mat. But guess what? Chad had used up so much energy with his explosive strikes that he couldn't finish the job. He was desperate, gasping for air. That's when Alex started getting ready for revenge and backed Mendes off with some power shots that packed a serious punch, while Mendes was running on empty. Yeah, Chad couldn't launch a counterattack at all, and because of that, Alex took control, trapping Mendes against the cage. And boy did he let loose. He rained down a flurry of strikes, melting Mendes' defense like it was nothing. Alex ended up winning and scoring a technical knockout in the second round. So not only did he survive 2 knockdowns during that night, but Volk also turned the tables and dominated the match. No wonder fighters are scared of Alex the Great, especially when he took down Max Holloway, not once, not twice, but 3 times. It was a pretty big deal for a rookie like Volk to pull that off, and even more since he made it look like a walk in the park. You see, Max Holloway is the kind of guy who's got the whole package. He's got the charm that makes fans swoon, and his fighting style is pure entertainment. The experts can't get enough of his precise striking skills, and the real secret sauce to his popularity? His ability to wear down his opponents. Holloway's game plan is all about endurance. The guy's got an iron chin and cardio for days. And he doesn't rely on knockout power, but instead he tires his opponents out with his relentless speed. He throws feints, digs into the body, and keeps the pressure on until his rivals are gasping for air. And let me tell you, Holloway's style has paid off big time. Even grappling wizard Brian Ortega couldn't handle the storm at UFC 231, and Max handed him 300 strikes. Holloway just keeps getting stronger as the fight goes on, and with his footwork and anti-wrestling skills, it's almost impossible to finish him. Oh, and good luck trying to dictate the terms of the fight. Before Volk came along, the only guy who managed to beat Holloway during his 15-fight winning streak was Dustin Poirier. But here's the thing, Dustin had a natural size advantage, while Alex, on the other hand, would be stepping into the cage at a weight Holloway hadn't lost in for half a decade. And you must be wondering, how did Volkanovski manage to defeat this guy? Well, it all comes down to his secret calf kick. You see, when it comes to leg kicks, fighters usually have a few options to defend themselves. They can raise their leg to check the kick on the shin, pull back their leg to avoid getting hit, brace their leg to lessen the damage, or even throw punches at their opponent's head to gain an advantage. But Volkanovski, he had a different plan for Holloway. Instead of going for the usual inside low kick, Alex unleashed a barrage of calf kicks, and each one of these kicks was brutal. If Holloway tried to raise his leg, he would have ended up getting smashed in the ankle, not the shin. And if he tried to retreat, he would just be forced back. Even bracing his leg wouldn't have done much for his defense. So his only option was to eat the kicks and try to counter with punches, but before Max knew it, Volk threw his fast hands at Max, which forced Holloway to back off. And then he went right back to attacking his legs, and by halfway through the second round, Holloway's leg was bruised black and blue. Max couldn't use his footwork like he wanted to anymore, and he wasn't able to close the distance and dictate the pace of the fight like he usually does. Normally, Max shines in the later rounds, but even in the fourth one, he was still struggling to get his game going, which is very unusual for someone like Max. Volk does the unthinkable and takes away any moves in his opponent's playbooks, while bringing in his very own unique strikes, and this was extra dangerous for Brian Ortega, who fought Volk at UFC 260. Let me take you through the heart-stopping moments and show you why Alex the Great is the real deal. First off, there was the mounted guillotine threat. Ortega had Volkanovski in a tight spot after he caught his kicks and countered with a punch. He landed in a moment with his hands locked around Volkanovski's neck. But even while all that was happening, Alex did not panic. He focused on getting Ortega lower down his body, pushing on his hips while moving himself away. Volk fought the choke with everything he had and managed to break free from Brian's leg wrap without going unconscious, which stopped Brian from applying the hip pressure he needed to finish the choke. And Volk's action didn't stop there. After that, he had the triangle situation, where Alex was basically caught in a checkmate. And he had to pull off a desperate move, falling to his side without completely giving up the mount. This made Brian try to finish the choke from between the guard and the mount, which made it a bit awkward for him. Meanwhile, Volkanovski used his arms to create space and fought his way out of the triangle. If it was the first round, Ortega might have had the upper hand, but Volkanovski's strategy to wear out his opponents worked in his favor. He freed himself from the impossible choke and started going all out on Ortega. Brian even tried to gator roll underneath him, but Alex got Ortega stuck in a midway position. Using the fence to his advantage, he laid his back on top of Ortega's chest, not letting him squeeze or advance his position. Ortega couldn't free his head, and without that, he couldn't circle his body toward the choke. Volk survived Brian's guillotine and still came out on top, and it's not just his strategy he has to thank, because when you combine that with his footwork, Alex is on a whole new level. He's a master at making his opponents second-guess their steps, while he hides his strikes and sneaks his way into intense punching exchanges, where his kickboxing power truly shines, and it all starts with his step-up left kick. The football game he plays has multiple layers to it. First off, Volkanovski can fire off those step-up kicks at an insane speed, and if his opponent isn't on high alert, Volkanovski can land some wicked shots after he does that. And when his opponents try to check his inside low kick by lifting their foot, and trust me, they do, our boy Alex takes it up a notch and delivers that same left kick straight to the body, always hitting the sweet spot right below the elbow. Ouch. The best part? Just the threat of that inside low kick alone is enough to push the fight toward the fence. And that's where Alex can corner his opponents and send out his punches with ease. So from not letting his opponents think ahead with his strategic footwork to having a 71-inch reach that helps him attack from all angles, those were the real reasons fighters fear Alex Volkanovski.